What's up, e-bike fans? In this video, we haven't gone into e-bike news in a while, and I just thought with today's big launch of the Lectric XP Lite that just came out, that's like some of the biggest news that's been all over YouTube, and that's really affecting, making a stir in the industry out there. So I just wanted to go ahead and bring up some of the news that's been happening recently with the weather changing, everybody's starting to get into bikes, and with Lectric announcing this new XP. Let's go over some of the stuff that's actually been going on. Now, for those of you who don't have e-bikes and you're looking into getting one and you're probably starting your research, maybe checking out the Lectric XP, I wanted to bring up two magazines that I actually recently came across. One is the Electric Bike Action magazine, and this most recent edition that actually came out in April of 2022 version actually has a buyer's guide. So if you're interested in actually looking into bikes and kind of starting your research and you're into magazines still, I would say go ahead and maybe stop by one of your local magazine shops and pick up one of these, or you can actually go to the electricbikeaction.com website, and I think you can actually order these online too. It's a really good magazine. They have even for those of you guys that are out there that actually have bikes and are just e-bike enthusiasts, this is a magazine that I absolutely love looking through. I mean, they review so many different cool bikes in this, and I even love looking at the ads. The ads in here actually show you some of the most innovative stuff that's coming out in the industry. This is a great magazine. If you're new to the industry or advanced, this is one I highly recommend you guys look into. The other magazine, I would say, if you can find this edition still, is the Consumer Report version of this magazine. This particular issue actually has a rating of different e-bikes, and it actually has an e-bike shopper's guide as well. And lo and behold, one thing that's in here that's really cool is the Lectric XP is rated in here as, I think, the #2 best value bike for e-bikes. And that's a pretty good accolade to be getting Consumer Reports to go ahead and put this in. Now, which issue is this? This is the, I don't know, it's the one that says Home Safe Home on the front, I guess. Oh, here, March 2022. So it's one of the newer magazines out there. I got this at my local Barnes & Nobles when I heard that Lectric XP was actually featured in this as a bike that actually is one of the best values, I guess, for this season in here. So let me go ahead and, it is actually Class 2 Commuter Cruiser, the #2 Consumer Reports pick. It had a rating of 72. Now, what's interesting is that there are bikes in here that are not really mainstream, so you get an idea of other bikes that are out there, some that are a lot more expensive. But like I said, congratulations to Lectric e-bikes for actually being in the Consumer Reports and rated as the #2 commuter Class 2 e-bike out there. So moving on to the XP Lite. Now, what's really interesting about this is they decided to actually scale down on a bike, and now we've lost 20 pounds off of the version 1 or 2, down from about 65 pounds. This bike is now only about 45 pounds, which is pretty awesome. To think about what they're doing is, with prices going through the roof everywhere, they've gone with trying to find a bike that's going to stay affordable and hit the mainstream market. E-bikes are still really, really hot. In fact, in this episode of e-bike news, I believe I'm going to be showing you some reasons why I think a huge shortage is going to happen all over again. Even with the Lectric Lite that actually has been announced as XP Lite, keep in mind, if you look here, just by hitting on the brown, this ships in 5 weeks. I don't know if that means that they're actually still waiting for containers to be unloaded, or if they don't have it yet. But all the other colors are even all shipping in 4 weeks. So it's not like that quick turnaround you normally have. It also could be that they are wisely giving themselves some lead time, because they're expected to get slammed with all the news that just came out this. I mean, I think like 4 of the largest e-bike reviewers out there. Jeremiah Mcintosh was the first one that I saw this morning, and I asked him permission if I could actually bring up a little bit of his video, because he did a fantastic review. I highly recommend it. It's a 22-minute review, very, very thorough. He goes over, I mean, riding it, the feel of it, the different levels, every part. I mean, he's by heart really one of the first true XP guys that went into a lot of depth of the bike itself, and rightfully so. He's actually reviewing this XP Lite and really going into detail comparisons for those of you who actually have the 1.0 or the 2.0. I mean, I had the 1.0 and 2.0, and this Lite version is fantastic route for them to go to get more people into the market, because their goal has always been to get more people riding e-bikes. And by bringing the price down to $799, by making a lighter bike, way more nimble, 45 pounds is something you can carry up a stairs. That's one of those things that's really good, because the 65-pound bike, whenever I was throwing it in the trunk of my car, I needed a back brace. I mean, when I was lifting it without one, I ended up hurting my back. So, I mean, 45 pounds is a nice weight to have. I mean, if you watch some of their promo videos, there's people doing ollies up curbs and, you know, bunny hops with them. That's how much, and even like a mild wheelie on one area. So you're getting a bike that actually has still a lot of power, a lot of versatility. It is only one speed though, and that's not a bad thing, especially when you have a speed at a higher gear with a ratio of a 52 tooth chainring in the front and a 16 in the back. That's a good ratio, so that at about 16 or 17 miles an hour, you'll still be able to feel a little pressure being put on the bike itself. But anything over than that, you're probably going to be air pedaling. It's going to be too fast. This is a bike for those also, because it's smaller. It'll be easier for even smaller riders who are a little less aggressive. More timid people can start off with this bike, but it doesn't mean that those who are good at bikes or aggressive at it cannot have this as a lot of fun. The other thing is that the tires are thinner. This is not a fat tire bike. It's going with a 2.5-inch wide tire, still 20 inches, but it also goes with a smaller motor. Now, this motor is only 300 watts. So when we're looking at this, that's one reason why the bike is so light. You have a lighter battery, a lighter motor, and brakes. You know, you still have good mechanical brakes, but with lighter tires. And I mean, just all in all, you're just getting a smaller bike, more nimble, and yet you're not really sacrificing too much. I mean, yeah, you're having actually a smaller motor on there, but it's still supposed to max peak at 720 watts. That's actually really good. So there's a lot to be said. I have not seen this bike in person. I've just been watching all the different videos. I'm really excited for Lectric and what they're doing, because I believe we're going to be seeing a lot more of these. Those who have tried Lectric, it's surprisingly big when you're talking about the 1.0 and 2.0. I mean, it's kind of shockingly big when you step up to it. You don't realize how big it is. So having something like this with actually even the reach being shorter, that's really good. Now, when I reached out to Jeremiah, asked permission to go ahead and just show a little bit about his video on here, he did tell me the two things that I probably might want to mention that was really interesting to him was that you can use this new Lite battery inside the older 1.0, 2.0 versions in their bikes, because the battery's shorter, so it'll fit in there. But keep in mind, you can't use the old battery in the newer ones. And it is a smaller battery that comes with the XP Lite, but you are still getting great range due to the reduction of weight and especially the reduction of drag. You only have a 2.5-inch tire, which means that there's going to be less friction against the road, which means you should be able to go faster with it. And of course, you're going to be still getting a lot of exercise. If you live in hilly areas, you'll see in Jeremiah's video that you might want to consider getting a bike that actually has gearing if that's an issue. But if this is a bike that you want to have, I guess what I've heard the term throw around bike, which means you're going to just go on short errands here and there, throw it in the car, put it in the truck, and you're just going to go, or even those of you with RVs. This is actually a better bike for an RV, I feel, because with an RV, you just need somewhere to go, maybe, you know, 5-10 miles in a round trip or 20 miles in a round trip. You can still do 20 miles and you'll be able to do that, but it won't take up so much space, and it's lighter. I mean, you always got to worry about a 65-pound bike if you have two of them on the back on a bike rack. I mean, that's 130 pounds with these old bikes. This new one with 45 pounds is a lot lighter, a lot more nimble, and easy to get in and out of places. I mean, a 45-pound bike is a nice weight, and you're still going to have a solid feel to it. Lectric does a great job making great products, and I'm going to say that this is probably going to be one of their great leaders in the market for sure. The other thing is, keep in mind, you have to buy more accessories separately. It doesn't come with fenders, but if you look at this, the way that this tail light was actually installed on it, it kind of does add a little protection of water, but most of the water will still splash up on you. You're probably going to want to get fenders. Jeremiah did complain a little bit about the seat. I never had a problem with the original Lectric seats, but I do advocate for either a Cloud9 or a Bikeroo seat. And if you are a Lectric 1.0, 2.0, or a Lite owner or soon to be Lite owner, don't forget at the Ebike Products website /shop, I sell suspension seat posts for only $29. That includes shipping and handling. So $29.95 will get you any one of these colors of these posts. And it is a suspension seat post that is guaranteed to fit in all 3 of the Lectric XP models. And then, of course, it'll fit a bikeroo seat if you have one of those. So, this is my little plug for what we are selling on there. We have a lot of these in stock. And again, $29.95, that is the price you pay. That includes shipping and tax for anywhere that's within the continental US. The other thing we have about this bike is they come in 4 different colors. You have this sandstorm color, which is actually really cool. And I guess it may be really popular. I don't know if this is a delay or because of its popularity. Then you, of course, have a black and your typical white without the light, strong blue logoing on it. So that's actually really nice too. And of course you have the blue that actually is more of a sky blue or a lighter blue. Again, you have your packages that you can buy separately. The other thing I'm going to say about this bike is that I honestly think that the way that they have the dimensions, from what I can tell, it probably does fit even shorter riders. With the reach being closer, that's going to be one thing that's going to make it more comfortable as well. So still foldable. Really excited. Again, $799. That's $200 less than the 2.0. Again, you do lose your suspension on the front though, because they are making the bike lighter. This is more, I guess, like I said, a very nimble bike out there. To make a ride more comfortable, I'd highly recommend getting a suspension seat post. And one of the ones of the Zoom at my website, that'll be great. We actually ship within 24 hours of most times in any order that comes in there. And we use USPS, either priority mail or 2-day shipping. Okay, so here's some of the reasons why I think you might want to buy, whether it's a Lectric XP or any bike, e-bike. If you're on the fence of getting it, now is the time that you probably want to get them. Here's the first thing. Everybody was ordering a ton of bikes toward about midway in the second to third quarter of last year, between around summertime, trying to get bikes in to fulfill all of the orders or the requests that were coming to get that end of the summer season put together. And all these bikes were being run out everywhere. Now, what happens is all of these bikes were on order getting backed up at the docks. And with all of the supply chain issues that people were having, the supply had now hit around December, right after the Christmas season shopping had been around. And also demand dropped tremendously because it's too cold to ride for a lot of people. They don't think about riding. So what's happening is that you have a lot of e-bike companies that have a ton of inventory. Just 2 weeks ago, I visited Monday Motorbikes and I was in their warehouse. They actually have a lot of inventory coming in. We're talking about the trends that are happening and about the increase of demand. So here's the second reason why I think. Now, the first reason I said that you want to buy now is because everybody has them in stock and they're keeping their prices as low as possible, even with all the talk of inflation. But I'm going to go through really quickly what's happening on the internet regarding trends. So I picked some of the best keywords that are out there that people are searching right now for, like, for instance, best e-bikes. When people are in the shopping mood, this is the research mode that they're going into. And you're looking at the last 3 years, January 2020, then we have, the midsummer area of 2020, which is where the demand really starts. And as you can see, it's pretty high here. Now look at 2021, where demand is about the same time during the summer season. This is when the shortages all happen in August, right? And everything starts to ramp up in about March. Okay, this is about March to April. The ramp up starts to happen right in May when kids are getting out of school. Everybody's going to start to go camping and riding out. You start to see a surge. Now, this year in March and April, look how high the demand already is. It's already above last year and 2 years ago, and we're going to start to see this even happen. Now, this is a weak term compared to what else is out there. Let's look at Lectric. This is the Lectric Lectric XP. You have, again, your October, late October, where everybody's trying to look at their bikes, trying to get their bikes in. And this is where the surge starts to happen, really in about May or March, when it starts to peak out in 2020. Look at 2021. And now we have, again, another spike up in March and April. Why does this usually happen about this time? Is also because taxes are due next week. Guess what? A lot of people are getting refunds, and this is when they're going to start looking for bikes. So you start to see this spike. Of course, what we have here is a skyrocketing to the moon for the term because of what happened today. This is what's trending as of right now. But take a look at how high already the Lectric XP was back in last month. In March 13th to the 19th. the interest already starts to ramp up, and they didn't even talk about a new bike coming out. So we're already starting to see this happening. Let's go ahead and look at Rad power bikes. Again, a huge surge already peaking out above last year, July peak season. This is only for March. We're already at 100%. So this is the highest interest so far is already starting to happen. We see this dip here, but this is just going to start turning around. We're going to see it go crazy after. Aventon is also another big term that's out here. They actually had some of their launch comes out with the Pace 500. People were probably doing some research about that. But again, their surge is just beginning, and we're going to probably see a lot more come about. With here, Ride One Up, another one, huge surge happened this time. They have some of the most affordable bikes out there for the commuter. I did a review on the Core 5, one of my favorite bikes of all time, at $1,000. People are looking for affordable bikes. That's what Ride One Up actually puts out there, including Lectric. You're looking at what's happening out there with inflation again. This is going to be something we're talking about a little later on this, but the more economical bike brands out there are getting a lot of interest. Aerial Rider is another big brand. Huge interest happening over here. Their spike again, same thing. All about March, April, we see the spike. Same thing as last year. We start to see the increase happening May or March, and it just keeps climbing through the season. I mean, it's just going to happen again. Rattan, another affordable brand, also peaking again this year. Again, 2020, 2021, and now 2022, we are seeing the trend starting to go. Pedigo is another brand. This is one that actually is known because they have stores out there. So you're going to see a lot of that. Juiced is kind of all over the map right now because they do have high-end and low-end price, high-end and lower price bikes, more performance. But as you can, I just going to go ahead and talk about that is the trends that are happening on Google says a lot about what's happening in the industry. So this is some of the things I wanted to bring up. The next thing I want to bring up is what's going on with regulation. So we have demand going up, and now because we have so much people getting an interest in e-bike now, about a year ago when people asked about my channel and I told them I talk about e-bikes, about 50-50 where it's what is an e-bike and other people's, oh, I've been seeing those. Now, when I say I do an e-bike channel, almost everybody knows what they are. So you have a lot of already exposure to the mass market, which means you have a lot more people on these things. And of course, the more people who are on them, the more accidents you're going to have. And it's becoming kind of an issue, I guess, with news. I don't know if they have nothing else better to talk about, but they're talking about crashes and how people are getting hurt. You know, people die on bicycles all the time, unfortunately. But now that we have e-bikes and people are dying on these things because of either recklessness or gotta blame sometimes even the drivers. You know, that just happens. Because of that, more regulations are happening. The bike trails are getting more crowded, but we are also having irresponsible e-bike riders that are running into pedestrians. Because of that, we are also going to start seeing more regulations. So here's what happens, or what I'm predicting what's happening with some of these regulations, what I'm already seeing, is that the bikes that are coming in are actually being scrutinized more for what they're being classified. So if you're going to get now a bike, or if regulation starts to actually pick up or get strict enough where we become something like the European nations that are actually at 15 miles an hour max, we're going to actually perhaps see bikes get slower. Now might be a good time to pick one up if you want one with a little more power before you actually have these regulations kick in. Just my opinion on that. But we do already see Carlsbad. I mean, David Brand New did a great entertaining segment about Carlsbad, which is a city down from where below where he lives, pretty close. That, you know, there are regulations that's happening. Again, irresponsible riders. A lot of the regulations are actually targeting children or I guess juveniles that are actually really reckless on them. Here we also see more regulations happening in Hawaii because somebody else got hit as well and there was a fatal crash. But besides from that, the trends that are actually happening, you know, we're talking about pricing going up. So because of inflation, let me go ahead and I'd like to talk a lot about what's going on with the mass market. We are seeing just in general today, the consumer price index. So let's go ahead and just talk about the inflation report. Today, we had a consumer price index come out saying that we had an inflation at 8.5%, which is, you know, a 4-decade high. Everybody knows gas, unless you don't drive, you must know that gas prices have gone up, which is causing everything to go up. Every delivery that is being made uses gas. And so, you know, those prices, the delivery costs are going up. That's being a problem. And here we see our inflation index of just overall goods. Now, when we look at this, what's interesting is scrolling down to page 13 of the consumer price index, we have, I always like to look at this because this tells me what's going on with the prices of bikes. So here, sporting goods, which includes bicycles, we have actually a year-over-year increase of 8.6% on sporting goods, bicycles included on this. This is no surprise. I mean, last year we had already seen prices being skyrocketing up $200 or $500 for some of the same brands that were coming because of container prices. And we're still seeing the ripple effect that's actually happened. Now we see a drop from February to March. That's only because of demand. And actually, I also think it's because prices came in dropping, as I said, because as demand dropped and everybody got their inventory, sales were being promoted all over the place. So again, I honestly still think and still do, before demand really starts to pick up, now is a good time to pick up bikes before prices start to increase even more. They're already higher than last year, and they have to be. Another reason being is that the actual raw good material, the metals, are really high. What's going on with Ukraine right now and Russia is really affecting raw material costs. And so anything that's coming out later is going to be an issue. The other thing is of course supply chain issues that we have. But we see Cowboy talking about their industry issues that they're actually making high tech, but they're actually talking about the how the demand is actually going to be a lot stronger. A lot more money is being flooding into it. Ride One Up just got huge investment money put into them so that they could stay competitive. The next thing we see is why Electric Mike said inflation isn't likely to go away. And they're talking about the problems that actually are happening on this. This is from the Wall Street Journal. So we have, again, so much news about issues that are coming up there. And one of the other reasons being is because of COVID is still an issue out there and factories are being shut down. So here we talk about more about regulation, the fatalities, but the consumer price index, we also see prices of gas. I mean, the more we go down into this chart, what I'm looking for is really high numbers, and anything dealing with transportation, 14.9% increase in public transportation costs. Truck rentals, 23% increase over last year. Car prices, including new car, is not going down at all. And we still have even used car prices, even though we are starting to get more cars. With gas prices going up, guess what? Everybody's actually trading in their larger trucks and big vehicles, trying to buy smaller vehicles, which there's a shortage of. We're not going to have prices going down. And so what's been happening, even talking with the Monday Motorbikes guys, is that they're beginning calls saying everybody's looking for other ways to get to work. And we have now local regulations or local areas like states giving rebates and helping with that. So here's shipping container prices, talking about how shipping container, it's interesting because they're saying freights are declining as far as a little bit of the cost of the shipping container costs have gone down like 12%. But when they've gone up 700% since maybe about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and now we have a 12% decrease from that 700% hike, that still means that our prices are extraordinarily high. Now you add fuel prices onto that, we're going to have more issues again. And inflation surging is worldwide, so everybody's having issues with this. We are also seeing yes, so here's I was talking about the decline in the shipping costs, but new car prices are dropping, but it's still over the higher prices. I mean, like I said, if you have a huge increase in prices, and even though they're dropping, they're still higher than what they were before. Okay, we also have, again, just car issues everywhere. People just don't want to drive. So we are seeing bike shops. I must have seen about 7 or 8 different local news YouTube videos about segments on how electric bike shop owners were getting hammered just by people coming in. They're running out of inventory again. Demand is really, really high. Talking about supply chain. So factories are beginning to close because, again, COVID lockdowns are happening in China. Now, this is just 12 hours ago that this was actually news that's coming up there. Again, supply chain is still an issue. We are not having the efficiency that we need, which means even though all of the suppliers that were 4 months late getting their supplies from last year's summer now have them in stock, that backup is going to happen again because manufacturing is now held up. And now once manufacturing does get back into play, if everything starts coming in again, you're going to see that whole ripple effect, that accordion effect of, easing of it and then tightening of it, easing and tightening of it. But all of that being said, inflation is still really the big monster that's actually really going to hurt pricing. Again, more supply chain news about Shanghai. This is where all the bikes are coming from. There's no choice. We just got to get what we can get. And some of these other supply chain, this is bicycle supply chain news. We're talking, if you just do a Google search for this and click on news, you'll see so much information about the supply chain issues of steel components. Talking to the guys at even Monday Motorbikes, they got their supply in now, but they're still talking about how some components that they've been waiting for are still months out. So, you know, all the bike companies are switching over to different components that they can get their hands on, and some have actually done really good jobs in getting good components out there. So, or upgrading, which has even been better for us. But come with the upgrade of those prices also means that you're going to have upgrade of parts. You're going to have upgraded part prices. So again, prices are being affected by it. That's why I think Lectric coming out with a cheaper bike, lighter, more efficient, getting people affordability with everything else going up in prices, especially housing now, rent's going up, everything, people finding other ways to save money. This is a great way for us to go ahead and see that type of saving happen with affordable bikes being launched, and still good brands. Again, the other thing that's happening now, to where, you know, all this legislation in the past that we've been talking about that's trying to get passed to go ahead and give incentives back are taking so long at the federal level that states are beginning to offer their own local rebates. Again, the news is that a lot of these companies that have local distribution or that can ship out are being called and asked, do they have it? And I guess states like Texas are offering just local incentives to people who are buying. So these kind of news we're seeing constantly. Gas prices is really a big surge in causing e-bikes to now just be a thing of interest to go ahead and get riding to work. Again, more lockdowns, supply chain issues that are happening. And this is, again, that Giant talking about how they're having really, really hard time getting parts and the shortages that they're happening, and also being forced to shut down. So that, all in all, is what I really want to go ahead and talk about in this news trends. If you're out there looking for an e-bike and you're thinking about getting one, you know, do your research. Go ahead and see what you can find out there. There are a lot of reviews. Check out some of my other videos on the e-bike reviews that I've done. Again, I have some that are really affordable. In fact, most of them are on the affordable range. I don't think any of them went over the $2,000 mark, except for the Blackbird, which was a premium bike that I bought, one of my first bikes that I really wanted to go ahead and get. And thank you guys so much for watching. If there's any other type of news segments you guys want to hear about what's going on out there, there are so many new bikes that are being launched that I never got a chance to go ahead. But Lectric really took the YouTube. I mean, they did a great job just blasting all of their new bikes out there. I also saw, you know, the Aventon Pace 500 and 300 that they had a launch on. I didn't get a chance to review it, but those are some beautiful bikes that also came out there. So I'd highly recommend taking a look and, you know, support your local bike shops out there if you can. They have these Aventons in stock. When I had gone there, you can see some of those and test ride them, so you really get a feel for them. And of course, you know, thank you again to Jeremiah Mcintosh for allowing me to share some of his video or talk about his video that he has out there. I have links to his Instagram and to his YouTube video down below. I highly recommend looking at it. And thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video.